Oh, hello there. I didn't expect any company out here. What do you want? If you're here to kill me for my runes, then I won't give them up easy. Oh, okay. So you want to learn about Ashes of War and which ones are good for invasions? Well, in that case, listen closely, because there's quite a bit you should know. Well, for clarity's sake, today we will only be going over the couple of Ashes of War that no matter the build, you will put on your build. Every build will have its flavor of Get Off Me tool or projectile, which we will go over in their own designated video. Today we'll be going over the quintessential Ashes of War that you must use for success. We will go in order of least essential to most essential, so buckle up and let's do some talking. Rain of Arrows is one of the most safe and deadly Ashes of War that a build can use. The reason it ranks low on this list is because not every single build will be able to run a Great Bow. A Great Bow takes 20 strength and 20 dexterity, and some incantation users and mages will not be able to meet these minimum requirements. However, if you're running any version of a strength, dexterity, or hybrid build, then you're almost certain to be able to slot a Great Bow on, and there is no better Ash of War for the job than Rain of Arrows. Something worth mentioning as well is that the potency of Rain of Arrows is drastically increased or decreased based on if you're using Golem Arrows or not. Usually this means that you are duping, which some people may have a problem with, I know, but the thing is at least at meta level and above, almost everybody you fight will have a dupe stash of Golem Arrows. So at least when at a meta level or above, there's no reason to not have one. Just hop in a Discord and someone should be able to help you out. Once you have Golem Arrows, which have a small AoE hitbox, you will be hitting people with multiple arrows of the flurry that rains down on their head. Rain of Arrows becomes significantly more deadly when your opponent is inside or has something above their head. Essentially, it makes it come out much faster, and the grouping is much tighter. Out here where there's no roof, as you can see, the host and the phantoms are taking a couple hits, but nothing fully lethal. Whereas in the next two clips, you can see that the spread is tighter. Even though this one's still outside, the spread was tighter. And in this upcoming clip, you will see how it being inside can absolutely decimate somebody. There is not a safer way of dealing potentially one-shot damage than Rain of Arrows. It's perfect for killing people who are not paying attention to you at the moment. Now, a little forewarning about Storm Stomp. I actually recommend you don't use it too much. There is a very high chance that you will become worse at the game with an over-reliance on Storm Stomp. And also there's a very high chance that people will do things like send phantoms home, disconnect, stuff of the sort, because you will make them very angry if you use this Ash of War a bunch. With that being said, Storm Stomp is a very powerful and brain-dead Ash of War. What it does is it gives yourself a nigh unbreakable amount of hyper armor and stuns the opponent hit by it for long enough that almost any R1 in the game and some R2s will be able to hit someone for free after landing Storm Stomp. This can have a lot of implications, such as getting yourself out of tight corners and punishing people who are R1 spamming at you, stuff of the similar. Now there is an asterisk to the viability of Storm Stomp, and that is that you outdamage your opponent. If you're not doing this, then Storm Stomp's viability goes down substantially, because there's not really a point in winning a trade with Storm Stomp if you don't win the trade damage-wise. Due to this, Storm Stomp is a very large win more Ash of War. You take a setup that is already very high damaging, extremely powerful, and you slap Storm Stomp on it to make getting your damage extremely easy. So some of the strongest setups that can use Storm Stomp are going to be setups that are power stanced, such as power stance spears or power stance straight swords. It works great on fists as well that have a very strong R2, like the Star Fist, and also weapons that have fast enough R2s on their own, such as a CGS like the Dismounter or the Claymore. When it comes to a Get Off Me tool that can be used on universally any build archetype, or a great turn and burn option, there are a few things that are able to compete with Storm Stomp. Every single build archetype will probably have a get off me tool that does more damage initially, but few will have one that is so versatile. Listen to me, and listen to me close when I say this. Quickstep and Bloodhound Step have both changed drastically since Elden Ring first came out, and Bloodhound Step specifically is no longer the completely broken mess it used to be. There is now a advantage and disadvantage of Quickstep and Bloodhound Step in comparison to just normal rolling. So we are talking about specifically patch 1.10 Quickstep and Bloodhound Step. These days, Quickstep has 9 invincibility frames, Bloodhound Step has 10, and as always, Roll has 13. So, why would you consider using Bloodhound Step or Quickstep? Well, the reason is that they have 2 very distinct advantages that normal rolling do not. So the first thing is that you are able to queue a roll only when you have released the roll button. Quickstep and Bloodhound Step are when you initially press your Ash of War button, meaning that your effective reaction time to attacks coming your way is a slight bit faster. And this can be a huge deal when you're being chased by very quick weapons, or it's just a bunch of host and phantoms running at you with, say, halberds, power stance spears, stuff that is not very easy to react to. It will help you get out of sticky situations like this very nicely. The other distinct advantage is that Quickstep and Bloodhound Step queue up and are used faster after an attack than a roll is, meaning that you are able to get out of your end lag quicker with these 2 Ashes of War. This means that quicker weapons such as the thrusting sword I'm using is very difficult to punish adequately. It's very annoying to fight, and this is something that will probably make people quite mad that you're fighting. Quickstep is more aggressively inclined, since it allows you to stay in the pocket a little bit easier, whereas Bloodhound Step is much more defensively sound of an Ash of War. The extra distance it travels is very helpful for getting out of sticky situations, and also using Roll and then Bloodhound Step is extremely difficult to punish. Whether it be utility weapons or quick weapons, you should have both of these on your build. In Elden Ring, the majority of the time invasions boil down to who can cheese who the fastest to win. However, there are a couple sweaty invasions you'll find yourself in where things manage to go the distance, and it becomes a battle of attrition. Holy Ground has an extreme amount of HP regeneration, so if you manage to break off and go and regenerate your HP, there is not going to be a better Ash of War for bringing you back up to full HP. But the thing is that you want to accompany Holy Ground with some other things that you can use to boost your HP back up to full. What you're going to do is, with the Primal Glintstone Talisman and the Incantation Scarab, make your Bestial Vitality or other HP regeneration incantation cost as little as possible, then swap to the 2 equivalents for Ashes of War, making Holy Ground cost as little as it can. Then you will use a Warming Stone and put on both the Talisman and Shield that regenerate a little bit of HP, and watch as your HP goes up at a ridiculous rate. Now obviously Holy Ground is going to be just fine without doing all this, but if you're trying to get as much HP back with as little FP spent as possible, this is the way that I have found, and it works wonders when you're having to grind out a multi 10-20 minute invasion that ends up just being a huge sweat fest. If there's one thing that'll get on the nerves of any and all invaders, it's mages. Mages are extremely comfortable and safe, spamming their magic at range and making sure that you literally do not get to do a single thing until they run out of blue. However, one of the few things you can do other than running sideways against these type of players is trying to go for a well-timed carian retaliation. Other than being a phenomenal parry just for people's normal attacks, it is also great for catching the magic that someone might be shooting at you and then flinging it right back at them. More so than the damage, the most important thing that Carian Retaliation does is it allows you to run straight at somebody, and they have to respect the fact that you have the retaliation flying above your head. If you catch somebody's magic and then run them down with a weapon or a couple of weapons that are very good at roll catching, you're going to have a ton of extremely free pressure. Say you're running at them with a halberd or you're running at them with an S-stock, something on these lines, you will be able to catch them as much as you want to, and they have to respect the fact that there's nothing they can really do other than roll. Now, a little heads up, I do not recommend in any universe trying to catch Stars of Ruin or Star Shower. It will only catch one of the projectiles and you will get hit in the face by all the others. Do not do it. Something extremely valuable Carian Retaliation allows you to do is heal more safely. If you catch somebody's projectiles, then what you can do is turn your back to them and start healing. If they decide to start running you down to hit you, when you turn around, they'll get hit in the face with what's now your projectiles. Now, when it comes to actually trying to parry somebody, Carian Retaliation still is going to be one of the best parries you can use. Some people will argue that Golden Parry is better because you are able to use it at a distance. You're able to get parries at a distance. However, in my opinion, it is easier to hit somebody with Carian Retaliation. I don't have any math for this, it's just my personal experiences. But both are great parry options, but it's not like Carian Retaliation has really bad parry frames to make up for the fact you can catch projectiles. It has both. When it comes to actually landing the parry, the most consistent thing you can do is put them in hit stun and then parry them, reading that they will attack you out of hit stun. While this shouldn't work as well as it does, the reason that it works as well as it does is because most hosts and phantoms are 1, pretty bad at the game, and 2, don't use their brain. Essentially, they understand that they have a numbers advantage and they've played through the entire game, not rolling a single time, just smashing away through their R1 button or their L1 button, or their L2 button for that matter, and the moment that you parry them for doing exactly what they're used to doing, they get sent back to a "you died" screen. However, you generally need to be conservative with your parries, especially if you're being chased down by power stance weapons like power stance spears and whatnot. What you really have to understand is that parrying, generally speaking, is one of the riskiest ways you can go for damage, because what ends up happening is that you get hit by Moonveil, you get hit by some other extremely high damage Ash of War, and the damage difference between a super powerful Ash of War is not that different from what a parry will lend you. Now, if you're using Misericord, you could end up one-shotting somebody, which is really good, but you've got to make sure that you know when to hold your cards and fold your cards. Don't go for parry all the time. Go for it when you know that your opponent's going to do something dumb. That's when you strike and you send them home with a one-shot. Something that every seasoned invader is all too familiar with is getting stuck in a corner, blendered, and being killed ruthlessly. It is one of the most infuriating parts of being an invader. However, Endure is your one way out of this. It is the way that you will get out of frame traps, and it is the way that you will be able to press aggression even when invaders otherwise would not be able to. I'm not kidding when I say that Endure is far and away the most pivotal Ash of War for invaders to have. The amount of versatility in this one Ash of War is staggering, whether it be surviving a frame trap that without Endure you would most certainly die from, or a host or phantom is on a very small amount of HP and you just need to break away for one moment, not get hit stunned for one moment to be able to pack them up and end the invasion, or get it significantly closer to you winning. All of these things are made possible due to Endure. Endure is not only a phenomenal get-off-me Ash of War, and the absolute best get-off-me Ash of War when you are in an extremely lethal situation, but it also makes the other great get-off-me moves a lot better. Say things such as Stormhawk Axes, Ash of War, or Black Flame Tornado. These only get enhanced by using Endure beforehand. You can also use Endure before using your Crimson Tears or your Cerulean Tears. That way you can get an unstaggerable heal off. This can be extremely important in areas where you cannot move at all. Something that some of the worst hosts will do is force invaders to invade them somewhere like Rykard's Cave or Radahn's Beach. These are some of the most disadvantageous spots in the game for the Invader, and while there is a 99% chance you will lose even if you do have Endure, it's a 0% chance if you don't have it. Endure is also one of the most splashable Ash of Wars. You can essentially put it on just about anything, whether it be the Misericord that is in your pocket just waiting to crit somebody, or it goes on your main hand straight sword if you're power stancing straight swords, and everything in between, whether it be your main setup or a utility weapon. It will perform its job exactly how you need it to, no matter what it's put on. Endure is also the best Ash of War for when you're fighting in cramped locations, whether that be on a ledge where you'll certainly die if you get hit and fall, or in a Scarlet Rock cave like what you see here. It is going to make sure that you are going to keep your feet planted on the ground as long as you stay there. A very important thing to understand about Endure, however, is that it does not work the same as Perseverance in Dark Souls 3, even though it looks extremely similar. The main difference is that Endure does not refresh technically every single time you use it. What I mean by this is if you've used it and you are still under the effect of Endure and use it again, it will not reset the timer. So it does actually take some skill to make sure that you don't do it at the wrong time. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the most skilled invader or someone who just started. Everybody is going to look at their Ash of War Endure and thank it, because it has saved their ass more than one time, that's for sure. Alright, well, knowing all that, you should be pretty set for a beginner. Hopefully you go out there and put some of that to good use. Well, with that being said, I think I'm just going to sit next to the fire for a bit and enjoy it before it goes out. We'll meet in a couple weeks, where I'll tell you about some of the other Ashes of War you should have. Stay safe out there, and remember, invasions do, in fact, suck.